beginning of your friendship.
Yes, it was.
Davis, a veteran record executive, was then running the Arista label.
And I get this call from Aretha.
She was in a bit of a slump at that point.
She was in a bit of a slump, yes, but she was the queen of soul.
Aretha Franklin was a masterful music producer whose songs will always evoke nostalgia for many people. As sweet as her music sounds to fans' ears, her struggle in Hollywood was equally harsh. She had to face things that she always kept behind the glittery curtains of Hollywood and passed away with many secrets buried deep in her heart. So, what were those secrets she knew? Let's find out. Aretha Louise Franklin was born on March 25, 1942, and passed away on August 16, 2018.
My daughter was holding my hand, my mother was rubbing my shoulder, and I just lost it. Because I just knew that was the last time, the night before, that I saw her alive.
She was an American singer, songwriter, and pianist. Aretha Franklin was often called the Queen of Soul, and Rolling Stone magazine even named her the greatest singer of all time twice. When she was young, Franklin sang gospel music at New Bethel Baptist Church in Detroit, Michigan, where her father was a minister. At 18, she started her career as a recording artist with Columbia Records. Although she didn't become famous right away, things changed when she signed with Atlantic Records in 1966. Some of her famous albums include I Never Loved a Man the Way I Love You, 1967, Lady Soul, 1968, and Sparkle, 1976. Later on, she had some issues with Atlantic Records, so she switched to Arista Records in 1979. Even then, she continued to be successful with albums like Jump to It, 1982. Throughout her remarkable career, Franklin received numerous honors. She won an astounding 18 Grammy Awards out of 44 nominations, including the first 8 awards for Best Female R&B Vocal Performance from 1968 to 1975. She was honored with a Grammy Awards Living Legend recognition and a Lifetime Achievement Award as well. Beyond the music industry, she was bestowed with the National Medal of Arts and the Presidential Medal of Freedom. In 1987, she made history as the first female artist to be inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Other notable inductions include the UK Music Hall of Fame in 2005, the Gospel Music Hall of Fame in 2012, and posthumously, the National Women's Hall of Fame in 2020. In 2019, the Pulitzer Prize jury gave her a special citation posthumously, recognizing her enduring contribution to American music and culture spanning over 5 decades. However, with success comes hardships, and friends become foes. During her career, she made many friends, but the one she was close to was Jennifer Hudson. For Jennifer, the disturbing part was knowing how Franklin was struggling behind the scenes, and nobody even knew about it. If you've been keeping up with the news about Aretha's biopic, you might know that Hudson portrayed Aretha in the It about the Queen of Soul's life. But this wasn't just any role. Franklin herself chose Hudson for the part. Playing a real-life figure like Aretha required Hudson to do a lot more than just memorize lines. She immersed herself in research, reading articles, watching videos, and listening to recordings of Aretha speaking, all to truly understand what made the iconic singer tick. In delving so deeply into Aretha's life, certain aspects that had been hidden from the public eye came to light. While some of these revelations showcased incredible achievements that few knew about, many others unveiled deeply painful experiences. This darker side of Aretha Franklin's story often remains untold, overshadowed by her immense talent and success.
The things, the struggles, the traumas of her childhood created who she was as an adult, and I wanted us to see what all goes into making somebody like Aretha Franklin.
Many fans have been unaware that Aretha Franklin has allegedly faced verbal and spiritual abuse from her Baptist minister father. Her first husband, Ted White, initially tried to protect her, but after a few years, he also became guilty of verbally and physically her. Aretha's biopic, released many years ago, showcases all these struggles and was a highly praised film that told the remarkable story of the legendary Queen of Soul's life and career.
I felt like I got lost. Got to where I was going, and it was nowhere I wanted to be.
This movie, directed by a well-known filmmaker and starring great actors, was a special tribute to the amazing Aretha Franklin. The story begins with a young Aretha growing up in Detroit, Michigan during the 1950s. It shows her facing challenges and discovering her talent in the gospel music world, all while being guided by her father, Reverend C.L. Franklin. Hudson was lucky to spend quite a bit of time with Aretha Franklin before playing her in the movie, taking on the big responsibility of being the late Queen of Soul in the biopic Respect. Hudson felt honored by Franklin's admiration for her. Franklin was known for not letting other singers perform before her in concerts, but she made an exception for Hudson after seeing her on American Idol in 2004 and being impressed by her talent. After the show, they became close friends, which led to Franklin personally asking Hudson to portray her in a future movie about her life. Their bond grew even stronger through this experience. In the movie, viewers get to see how Aretha's talent grew and changed over time. It starts with her being a big name in gospel music and follows her journey as she becomes a recording artist with Columbia Records. Along the way, she faces challenges as she tries to figure out what makes her music special and unique. The film also shows Aretha's personal life, including her marriage, being a mother, and how the legacy of her family influenced her career. After that, things took a turn for the worse, especially for Aretha. When she was just 12 years old, she faced the heartbreaking reality of becoming pregnant as a teenager, a detail that her biopic seemed to get wrong. At the beginning of the movie, directed by Liesl Tommy, we see a 10-year-old Aretha whose father, a preacher, brings her down to a party filled with famous people and asks her to sing for everyone. Later in the film, there's a scene at another party where a clearly young Aretha is getting ready for bed in her room. Someone unnamed enters and tells her he'll be her boyfriend. Then we see Aretha in silhouette, visibly pregnant with a round belly.
Hey, Bree, you want to tell me what's wrong?
In real life, Franklin had 4 sons: Clarence Franklin, Edward Franklin, Teddy Richards, and Kekaf Cunningham. Clarence, her first child, named after her preacher father, was born just 2 months before her 13th birthday. She had her second child, Edward, 2 years later when she was 14. Franklin never publicly revealed the father of her children. However, a 2014 biography by David Ritz, titled Respect, The Life of Aretha Franklin, claimed that the father of her oldest son, Clarence, was Donald Burke, a boy she knew from school. There's no indication in the biography that the pregnancy resulted from a non-consensual encounter, contrary to what the movie suggests and what critics have pointed out. Yet, even this detail was brought into question in 2019 after Franklin passed away, when 3 handwritten wills were found in her home, including one in a notebook between couch cushions. Initially, when Franklin died in 2018, her family believed she had no will. Her sons have since been in court over the authenticity of these documents. One of the wills discovered after Franklin's passing states that Clarence's father was Edward Jordan Sr., with whom she also had her second son, Edward, in 1957. Not much is known about Edward Jordan Sr., and Franklin rarely talked about her first 2 pregnancies. According to Ritz's biography, Jordan Sr. was described as someone Franklin once knew. The wills also clearly state that Jordan Sr. should never receive or manage any money or property belonging to Clarence because he never contributed to Clarence's well-being, neither in the past nor in the future. This point is emphasized twice in the wills. Or perhaps it's because Edward Jordan Sr. might not be Clarence's real father, as many rumors suggest that her preacher father could be the one. These stories are supported by the claim that Aretha supposedly named all her children after their biological fathers. And regarding her preacher father, there were rumors of his promiscuity, to the extent that he allegedly had a relationship with a 12-year-old member of his church. These are all just rumors floating around among fans, and the truth behind them is still unclear. While these details might be unsettling, they've never overshadowed the singer's incredible talent. One of the biggest challenges Aretha faced throughout her life was dealing with her deep-seated insecurities. Despite her incredible talent and many awards, she struggled with feeling like she wasn't good enough as a singer. This self-doubt affected both her personal and professional life, making her question her abilities and values. Aretha also had insecurities about her looks, often feeling like she didn't meet society's standards of beauty. As a mother, she felt guilty about not being dedicated enough, which weighed heavily on her. These insecurities sometimes led Aretha to belittle others and get into conflicts as a way to protect herself from feeling vulnerable. While Hollywood often portrayed her as a flawless star, the reality was more complicated. Aretha's inner struggles influenced how she interacted with others and the decisions she made, which weren't always flattering. The competitive music industry added to her inner turmoil, making it hard for her to connect with other female artists due to feelings of jealousy towards some of them. Icons such as Diana Ross and Barbra Streisand, along with competitors like Natalie Cole, Anita Baker, and Whitney Houston, were often seen as potential challenges to Aretha's status as a prominent figure in the music world. Despite this, Hollywood tended to ignore any tensions or conflicts between them, preferring to portray a more harmonious music industry. But for many, these rivalries were just par for the course when you held the title of Queen of Soul. However, this wasn't all for her. She faced even bigger challenges, especially when she became close to none other than the Hollywood mogul Clive Davis.
And like all great artists do, she got nervous. She was a perfectionist.
Since Aretha Franklin left Atlantic Records in 1979, Clive Davis has been the force behind many of her most successful albums. He first worked with her as the founder and president of Arista Records, and now, in his role as chief creative officer of Sony Music Entertainment, Clive has been friends with Aretha for about 40 years. Clive shared how their bond began and eventually became stronger while working in the industry. He said, "The first time I met her was when she called after I had founded Arista, so we're talking late 1970s. She was at the end of her career at Atlantic. She was working with producers who didn't quite have the right handle on the material. I went to her house in Los Angeles, and she cooked dinner for me. We spent the evening getting to know each other and establishing the bond that we have."
Where's this taken, Clive?
The Beverly Hills Hotel.
So this is literally the beginning of your friendship.
Yes, it was.
Recently, Clive Davis has been the talk of the town due to his connections in Hollywood and his activities in the industry. Many speculate that some of his associates may not be immune to his actions. Fans have alleged that Aretha Franklin could have been a victim of Clive's actions in Hollywood, particularly citing his introduction of her to Quincy Jones. For those who are unaware, all of this ties back to the well-known rapper and mogul Diddy, who is currently facing numerous lawsuits. Clive Davis is a big deal in music. He's had a huge impact, especially when he started Arista Records. There, he signed a bunch of really important black artists like Patti Smith, The Outlaws, Eric Carmen, Exposé, Ace of Base, Air Supply, Dionne Warwick, Ray Parker Jr., and Radio, Aretha Franklin, and Alicia Keys. Davis also helped Puffy get his start with Bad Boy Records. As new news about Hollywood celebrities has begun to surface, many fans have learned that Clive Davis has a history that's been in the spotlight, especially regarding dealings. In a civil suit filed against him, there was evidence indicating that he allegedly misused the company's funds. As a result, he was summoned before the Newark grand jury and was later let go by Columbia on April 10, 1973. Columbia's investigation into Mr. Winshaw's actions eventually led them to Anthony Rubino, who was in charge of approving expense vouchers, and then to Mr. Davis himself, a major figure in the recording industry. Mr. Rubino was fired on May 25th, followed by Mr. Davis on May 29th, 1973. According to Columbia's lawsuit, Mr. Davis allegedly used company funds to renovate his Central Park West apartment and to throw a lavish bar mitzvah reception. Mr. Winshaw was also implicated in the misuse of funds, according to the suit. Several music industry insiders interviewed recently mentioned an executive at Columbia Records who was known as the house pimp among colleagues. Clive was Mr. Super Straight, Mr. Dignity, while this other guy was Gotcha, the one who got whatever an artist wanted, a former Columbia Records employee said. If an artist came to town and wanted a hooker or grass or whatever, he went to him. There's somebody like that at most pop record companies, said a leading executive in the industry. I don't know how many companies are involved, but if one is, they're all doing it. When somebody says, we need 6 broads or 8 bags, somebody's got to do it. It's becoming clearer why Diddy is facing so many lawsuits. He built his career under Clive's guidance, and lately he's been throwing these massive parties at his place. What's really surprising is that the allegations against him are similar to the ones Clive faced. You know how they say you become like your friends? Well, it seems Diddy might be following in Clive's footsteps a bit too closely, given the lawsuits against him are pretty much the same as Clive's. There's a deeper backstory to all of this, and Jaguar Wright sheds some light on it. In her revealing interview, she didn't hold back in criticizing various Hollywood figures for their questionable and secretive practices. One of the most shocking claims she made was about Diddy's involvement in tea for Hollywood elites. At first, this might sound pretty heavy and maybe even too extreme to believe entirely. In her interview with Real Life Production, Jaguar Wright made some serious accusations against Diddy. She claimed he's involved in secretive transactions for Hollywood elites, hosting parties where substances and money are exchanged, and even orchestrating harm against those who try to expose him. These allegations carry a lot of weight, especially given Diddy's wealth and influence. Speaking out like this comes with significant risk. It's like putting a target on your back. But Jaguar Wright and Bobby don't seem fazed by the potential consequences. Their boldness suggests they truly believe in the truth of their claims about Diddy. If you're wondering how Clive and Diddy are connected to Aretha Franklin's life, it might sound strange, but reality often has surprising twists. The controversies surrounding Clive have affected many of his close partnerships due to the lawsuits against him. Many fans speculate that because of Clive's close relationship with Diddy, Aretha might not have been able to speak out about what she knew regarding Clive's actions, especially considering her past closeness with Clive. What's even more astonishing is that Clive was a major Hollywood mogul, much like Diddy is today. This could explain why Aretha might have faced various challenges from Clive's side, but never spoke out, perhaps out of fear of repercussions or being canceled. It's interesting to note that despite the controversies surrounding Clive and Diddy in Hollywood, they still maintain a close relationship. It almost seems like they've formed a team, standing together against the rest of the industry. This can clearly be proven by the recent events, where even with all the lawsuits against Diddy, he still has some influence in the music industry. He's been a big name in music for a long time, and his album Off the Grid even got nominated for a Grammy for Best Progressive R&B Album. Earlier, sources reported that Diddy might not go to the big awards show, despite being nominated, but he's still welcome to Clive Davis's famous pre-Grammy party if he decides to go. According to a source who knows about the guest list, a source reported, Combs is perennially invited to the party. He's always on the list. Someone else noticed that the rapper from I'll Be Missing You was oddly absent from the photo collection of the party, which usually comes with Davis's annual invitation. This is surprising because he was featured 3 times last year. However, a spokesperson for the former Revolt CEO, who stepped down after serious allegations were made against him late last year, responded to the outlet stating, "Puffy wasn't scrubbed. It does seem like things are getting a bit messy." Despite petitions calling for Diddy to be removed from Grammy nominations due to the lawsuits against him, he still received an invitation to Clive's pre-Grammy Awards party. It's definitely a situation that's raising eyebrows and stirring up controversy. Unfortunately, artists like Aretha Franklin may have been silenced from speaking out about their struggles and hardships in the industry. It seems like these moguls have formed a tight bond that allows them to wield a lot of power and influence over the industry. The even sadder truth is that Aretha passed away while carrying deep emotional scars in her heart. Despite this, she remained strong and continues to brighten our ears with her music. That's it for today's video, guys. Thanks for watching.